Good morning, class. Today we will be starting with this subtopic, that is the language of the nation. As we have already completed the powers of the state, so today we will be starting with this subtopic, that is the language of the nation. So as we all know that India is a very diverse country, diverse and large country, okay, with different languages, different cultural heritages, right? So at that time, so there was this problem of language, that what should be the language of a free India, okay. So because of this, there was a huge debate inside the Constituent Assembly that which language should be the language of the nation, and it was very difficult for the members of the Constituent Assembly to choose a particular language because of the varied nature of our country, because we have different languages, different people, different cultures, different traditions, and because of this it was very hard for the members of the Constituent Assembly to choose a language. So in 1930s, the Congress accepted the concept of Hindustani, and what they said is that Hindustani will be the national language, okay. Hindustani, which was a blend of Hindi and Urdu, and Hindi and Urdu at that time was the language which was popular at that time. And what they believed is that if we blend Hindi and Urdu together, so this will be ideal for the nation. So this concept was also accepted by Mahatma Gandhi, and he advocated that everyone should speak this language, and he also thought that this language would be ideal for communication and which would unify both Hindus and Muslims and people of the north and south. So but at the end of the 19th century, the concept of Hindustani was slowly changing and disappearing, okay. It was slowly changing and disappearing because of communal conflicts between the Hindus and the Muslims, okay. Communal conflicts between the Hindus and the Muslims. Communal conflicts meaning religious conflicts, okay. At that time, Hindi was being Sanskritized, okay. That means all the Urdu words from Hindi were being excluded, and there was inclusion of more Sanskrit words and sentences in the main language. And on the other hand, the Urdu language was also being Persianized. That means more Persian words were being included in the main language, and the words and the Hindi words were being excluded from the main language. So that was there. Okay, now let's move on to another topic, that is a plea for Hindi. As we all know that Hindustani language, which was a blend of Hindi and Urdu, was losing its popularity. Now there was this plea for Hindi. That means there was this congressman whose name was R.V. Dhulekar, and he strongly favored the use of Hindi language as the language of the constitution, okay. He made an aggressive plea that Hindi should be used as the language of constitution making, and he also argued that who do not know this language are not worthy of being the members of this assembly. So this is what he said in the assembly, okay. So after almost 3 years, on 12th September 1947, a huge storm was sparked off again on language issues, okay. So language committee at that time, it submitted its report and suggested that Hindi in the Devanagari script would be used as an official language, and what they thought was that it would solve all the problems, okay. It would solve all the problems related to language problems. So Hindi in the Devanagari script would be used as the official language, but this was not formally declared, and it was believed that this would be a gradual transition, okay. This would not be an immediate transition, but this would be a gradual transition. So this concept was again opposed by Dhulekar, and he wanted Hindi to be declared as the national language, not as an official language, okay. He wanted Hindi to be the national language, but not as an official language. And he attacked those who protested that Hindi was being forced on the nation, and mocked as those who said in the name of Mahatma Gandhi that Hindustani rather than Hindi ought to be the national language. So he also mocked many people who was like following this idea of Hindustani, and mocked them that Hindustani should not be the national language, rather Hindi should be the language of the nation. Okay, another topic is the fear of domination of Hindi languages. As we all know, the controversial speech given by Dhulekar that Hindi should be the official language as well as the national language of the nation or India. So this sparked criticism mostly from southern India, and one of the leader, whose name was Srimati Durga Bhai, she explained that most of the southern Indians are against Hindi. Okay, most of the South Indians are against Hindi, and the opponents of Hindi may perhaps justify that this propaganda for Hindi cuts at the very root of provincial languages. Like for example, what their major concern was, if Hindi is imposed, the provincial languages may lose its importance and it might also disappear. And another thing is, what Srimati Durga Bai highlighted was, she obeyed Gandhiji and continued like supporting Hindustani language, but still there was a strong criticism, and the people of southern India were against the imposition of Hindi. At the same time, there was also the fear that if Hindi is imposed in India as the national language, the South India might cut off from India. Okay, it might partition from India. So this was also the major concern of the Constituent Assembly at that time. So, and there was this another leader whose name was Sri Shankar Rao Deva, who was from Bombay. He stated that if you want my wholehearted support, you must not do anything which may raise any suspicions and which will strengthen my fears. So Sri Shankar Rao Deva was a supporter of Mahatma Gandhi, and had also accepted Hindustani as the language of nation. But what his concerns and what he wants, that I will be wholeheartedly supporting the language, but on the other hand, the Constituent Assembly should not also raise any suspicions that will strengthen the fears. Like for example, declaring what Constituent Assembly did was, it declared Hindi as the official language, right? So he's talking about this kind of fears. And there was this another leader whose name was T.A. Ramalingam Chettiar from Madras, and what he said was, Hindi should not be pushed aggressively. Okay, Hindi should not be pushed aggressively. Okay, and it should be done with mutual adjustments. It should not be pushed aggressively. It should be mutually adjusted, and things should not be forced on the people. Okay, it should not be forced on the people. So this was the three main the fear of domination highlighted by the three leaders. One was by Srimati Ji Durga Bai, who was from Madras. Another one was he was from Bombay, and his name was Sri Shankar Rao Deva. And another one, he was also from Madras, his name was T.A. Ramalingam Chettiar. So these are the three leaders who were against the imposition of Hindi as the national language.